Morning. This morning I wanted to talk about adrenal fatigue because, a lot of the time people ask me, whether they have adrenal fatigue or what adrenal fatigue is. And so, this can seriously be something that is contributing to your lack of motivation. It's something that I have experienced before to different degrees, and so I wanted you to have some clarity on that. So if you are wondering if you have adrenal fatigue, if you are wondering whether it is affecting your motivation levels, then stick around because today's video is especially for you. In this video, we're going to have a look at which of the 4 stages of adrenal fatigue that you could be in. So there are 4 stages. I'm going to identify those and create some clarity around each of those 4 so that you can figure out which stage that you might be in. And then at the end of the recording today, I'm going to let you know what it is that you can do about those stages, and then after that, I'll let you know how you can get in touch with me, because if you really are suffering in the later stages of adrenal fatigue, then you need a bit more than help. Okay, so there are 4 stages. Now, the first stage of adrenal fatigue, most people move in and out of throughout their lifetime. Okay, the thing about the adrenal glands is that they don't know what kind of stresses that you are experiencing. They only know stress. So they cannot distinguish between the stress of exercise and the stress of work. Okay, they cannot distinguish between the stress of a job interview or being in hospital, all right, because you're sick. Your adrenal glands don't know the difference. They only know stress. And so when your body is experiencing stress, the adrenal glands are going to be manufacturing adrenaline and cortisol. All right. Now, the thing about cortisol is that cortisol is an anti-inflammatory hormone. And so anything in the body that requires anti-inflammation is also going to trigger the adrenal glands to start working. Okay, so when you are going in between these stresses, lots of people ask me, should I get my blood tested to have a look? Should I check? But the thing about getting your blood tested to see whether you are in the stages of adrenal fatigue is that it's only in stage 4 where a blood test is going to be the most useful. And the reason is that your cortisol levels are really set on a timing mechanism in the brain. Okay, so the most accurate way for you to actually see if cortisol levels are high in the blood is actually if you were getting that tested every 4 hours. Okay, so if you were getting that tested every 4 hours, that'd be useful. So a more accurate way of testing is through your saliva. All right, but not a lot of people do that. So you really do need to have a look at the symptoms, because you can actually pick up on about where you may be by addressing and becoming familiar with the symptoms. If you were to get a blood test, and if you could see what you were looking for in the blood, what you would be seeing is increased levels of insulin, increased levels of DHEA, which is a precursor to hormone manufacturing. You would also see increased levels of cortisol and adrenaline. Okay, so that's what you would see in the blood. At this stage, in the stages of phase 1 of adrenal fatigue, what you'll be experiencing is high levels of alertness. Okay, this is coming from adrenaline. So you'll experience high levels of alertness, but you'll start to have an interrupted sleep. Okay, so your sleeping patterns become interrupted, but because stress levels are high, you will be experiencing that alertness because your body is in that fight and flight mode. All right. So when you stay in this phase for long enough, okay, so when your body is at an increased level of alertness for long enough, and that stress does not dissipate wherever the stress is coming from, and it also, remember, could be coming from exercise. If you stayed in the state, then it would lead to phase 2. Okay, so this is what happens when you are not able to relax the body from this stress. Then it's going to lead to stage 2 of adrenal fatigue. So when you are in stage 1 for this prolonged period of time and you get into phase 2 of adrenal fatigue, you really are kind of in a state of, how I would explain, wired but tired. Okay, so your body has really become used to manufacturing manufacturing the hormones necessary to help your body out in this increased level of alertness phase. But some other things are starting to be affected, and even more so will be your sleep. So unlike phase 1, where you are noticing that you are having interrupted sleep patterns, now it's more like you get to the end of the day and you crash. So no longer are you kind of waking in the middle of the night type of thing, but you might get to the end of the day and you just pass out from tiredness. Okay, so in the morning you'll find as well that when you wake up, you just don't feel like you've actually had that real rejuvenated sleep, that recovery type of sleep where you actually feel vital. Your sex hormones really will start to take a drop. So it is one of the things that you are going to notice is that you'll have a real lack of sex drive. Okay, procreating is not a priority for your body right now. Cortisol is. The body's manufacturing of cortisol has been happening at such a high rate that, because of the stress that you've been under for this prolonged period of time, because you've entered into stage 2, cortisol has become such a high priority that sex hormones are now no longer a priority. So what the body actually does at this point is it starts stealing progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, DHEA hormones. It starts to steal those, and instead of using them for what they were originally intended to be used for, they will be stolen and used to make cortisol, which is your stress hormone. Okay, and that's the reason why your sex hormones will take a drop. One of the things that you'll also start to notice about this behavior, and you really have to get real with yourself in this, is the dependence on coffee. Okay, a dependence on coffee, so an unhealthy dependence on it at this stage is definitely a sign of adrenal fatigue, getting into those advanced stages. Okay, so look out for the accumulation of these symptoms. Now, most people are in and out of phase 1 adrenal fatigue, but a lot of people at different stages of their life will go into phase 2 of adrenal fatigue, and most people don't ever get these stages actually diagnosed. So we go in and out of phase 1 and 2, never actually knowing that we're in adrenal fatigue. But I say, look, if you know that you're in it, then you're able to actually do something about it. Okay, so that's how you would identify when you're in stage 1 or 2. Now, stage 3, here's where we start to get to quite critical. Okay, now we're getting to quite critical. Just like getting into phase 2 is because you've been in phase 1 for a prolonged period of time, well, the same goes for phase 3. If you have been in phase 2 of adrenal fatigue for a prolonged period of time, then you are going to get into phase 3 of adrenal fatigue. And here's where it starts to get quite bad, because it's the same scenario as phase 2, only now it's happening at a much greater rate, and the side effects that that's going to have on your life are going to be much more significant. Sleep is like become a thing of the past. All right, sleep is now no longer at all a restorative place for you. Your body is not able to recover. All right, you're not getting, unlike phase 2, where you may be getting random nights here and there of good sleep. When you're in phase 3, recovery is non-existent. Okay, and so the adrenal glands are just getting worse and worse. Your sex hormones are just, they will be super low at this point. In fact, if you were to get those tested, you would start to see that they were actually really sitting quite low. Okay, so if you were a guy and you're getting your testosterone levels tested and they were sitting real low, then the other thing that you would start to notice is that the opposing hormone estrogen would start to creep up, which is unusual for a guy because naturally they sit quite low. You might notice that you start to get a little fatty in places that you don't normally get fatty, like around the hips and around kind of like a saddlebag area, which is where women tend to get more fatty, and this is from a drop in testosterone. Okay, if you're a guy, holding down a job can be quite a battle at this point because motivation levels are seriously so low. Extreme tiredness is a side effect of your hormones being so messed with. Everything here is being utilized to manufacture cortisol. There is so much inflammation in the body that anything other than your body making cortisol is the priority. All right, inflammation is such a debilitating place for your body to be in. It will not choose to make anything else a priority other than making anti-inflammatory hormones, and they are cortisol. Okay, so it's usually at about this stage that cortisol levels are so exhausted from the body is so exhausted from trying to manufacture cortisol that cortisol now starts to take a bit of a drop. So now not only do you have a drop in sex hormones, all right, but now you'll also start to see that you can be dropping in cortisol. So now they start to get extremely low. This phase 3 of adrenal fatigue, can last... Oh, problem with the connection. Just in case you missed that, stage 3 of adrenal fatigue can last for months, or it can even last for years. Okay, so you could be in this phase for quite some time. All right, stage 4. Stage 4 is a real problem. Now, I believe that a lot of people are in the stages 3 and 4 of adrenal fatigue who are experiencing depression, and it's going undiagnosed, okay? It's being labeled as depression when actually you're depressed because your body is just not able to produce the hormones required to make you feel good because cortisol is being made at such a high rate that it is no longer a priority for your body to be making hormones to feel good because it's a priority for your body to be making cortisol. All right, so important that you understand. I spoke to a girl 2 days ago, and she's got 3 kids. She's a solo mum. She's at home. 2 of them are under 3, and she's doing it all on her own. And you know, she's got this new baby who is waking up in the night, plus she's also looking after her kids almost turning 3, and she's got a kid who's 4, all right, and she's looking after these kids all on her own. She's not able to sleep through the night simply because she's got young ones. Now I'm telling you, this girl is in adrenal fatigue. Now I didn't speak to her long enough because she was in a hurry. I wasn't able to establish which stage that she was in, but on her way out, she did tell me that she was experiencing depression and her doctors wanted to put her on antidepressants. And the only reason that she wasn't on antidepressants was because she was breastfeeding and she didn't want her baby to be getting any traces of that medication through the breast milk. Now, I'm telling you that she will be experiencing adrenal fatigue, and it's just so annoying that her doctor is not wanting to address the real issue. At this point is where you will be able to have the blood tested to be able to see where the adrenals are extremely fatigued. At this point, we actually call it burnout. And the reason why is because not only are the sex hormones being affected, but now the neurotransmitters in your brain are being affected, and so it's called burnout. This is where the name came from. At this point, the reason why you're able to have it tested is because 80% of the gland is destroyed. Do you understand? 80% of the adrenal gland has been destroyed, and it's only at this point that blood tests are really going to pick up that there is extreme adrenal fatigue. And that's one of the most important things that you've got to understand about blood tests, is that they are the most accurate for picking up acute levels of glandular failure. Okay, blood tests are the most accurate for picking up acute levels of glandular failure. But you could have picked it up in stages 1 and 2 and possibly even 3, that a blood test would not have been able to pick up by looking at other symptoms, okay? By looking at other symptoms, it's so important that you understand that. Extreme tiredness, lack of sex drive, depression, anxiety, irritability, a real lack of, I can't think of the right word, interest in the world is what is being experienced in stage 4 of adrenal fatigue. it really does take a drastic change in lifestyle to really be to allow the adrenal glands to be able to recover from stage 4 of adrenal fatigue. A lot of patience and an extreme change in lifestyle to be able to rest the adrenal glands long enough for them to be able to recover. But I want to give you hope, because whichever stage of adrenal fatigue that you are in, the adrenal glands can recover. Okay, they can recover. They are not dead, okay? And if you rest them and if you give the glands what they actually need to recover, but the two must go together. Okay, you must rest the gland, so the gland must be able to rest, and then you must give the body what it needs to recover, high levels of nutrients, and the combination of the two will significantly make a difference. So if you feel like you are in any one of these 4 stages of adrenal fatigue, then I'm going to give you some tips on what you can actually do, okay? I'm going to give you my top 3 tips. Now, this will help you whichever stage that you're at. I'm going to say to you, if you are in stage 3 or 4, you need to reach out to me personally and let me talk to you. I'm happy to have a conversation with you to help you out a little bit more one-to-one. But here are my top 3 tips. The first one is vitamin D, all right? Vitamin D in a supplement form it's like sunshine in a bottle. I am telling you, my son, he's just turned 1, and there was a period where he was teething and not sleeping well all in one go. And I'm telling you, the sleep deprivation and running a business almost full time, it was really taking its toll on my adrenals, all right? And when you're a mother, especially in those real early years, and I really feel for you mothers who are still not sleeping and the kids are in their later years, the adrenals really are more susceptible to becoming fatigued. Remember, they don't know the difference between stresses. And I was so tired and so exhausted that I literally started to feel the beginnings of depression, all right? And so what I did was I started to take vitamin D in really high doses. I was taking 7,000 international units a day, okay? That's quite a high dose of vitamin D. And now I maintain at 4,000 while I'm still waking in the night to feed Ollie, okay? The second thing is vitamin C. Vitamin C is extremely important because the adrenal glands are the biggest stores of vitamin C in the body, and so your body will be constantly leaching vitamin C from the adrenals to help regulate the pH levels in your blood. Okay, one of the most common things of high cortisol in the blood is the breakdown of muscle, and so the body will be leaching vitamin C from everywhere, and so dehydration is real common, okay, and when you are experiencing adrenal fatigue. So vitamin C, I was taking that at 8 grams a day. That's 8,000 milligrams. It's quite high, all right? It's super important that you take a good quality vitamin D and vitamin C. Reach out to me if you want to know what I recommend. It's practitioner strength. Now, the third thing is to really take a look at the added sugars in your diet, okay? Now, added sugars typically come in packaged food. So what I want you to do is I want you to flick around whatever it is that you are eating if it's coming in a packet, and I want you to look at the total grams of sugar that you are having a day. So when you flick around the packet, look there under total carbohydrate, and then underneath that you'll see how much of those carbohydrates are sugars. Now if you are a female, you want to keep your total grams of sugar under 16 grams. If you're a guy, you want to keep your total grams of sugar under 24 grams, that's per day. Now if you are just flicking around the labels and you're looking at about how much you're having a day, and you're seeing that it's going quite a lot over that, then look, it's just something that you want to be aware of, and then you want to lower that as soon as possible, okay? 16 grams of sugar per day looks like 4 teaspoons of sugar, all right? For a guy, 24 grams of sugar a day looks like 6 teaspoons of sugar. So if you're getting in any more than that, then it's going to be another trigger for your body to be manufacturing cortisol, because it's remember that your body cannot distinguish between the stresses, and this is a stress that's coming from the diet, one which is more in your control, okay, than say stresses that are going on at work. So those are my top 3 tips. Those are the top 3 that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. I hope that you really got some value from this today. It is quite an important source of it is quite an important area. Definitely you can be feeling lack of motivation if you are experiencing adrenal fatigue. So if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me through my website. It's generationhealth.co.nz. That's generationhealth.co.nz. Just click the Contact Us tab, and I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Put in the subject header, adrenal glands or adrenals or whatever, and I'll know that that's the conversation that we're having, and then I'll be in touch with you. All right, guys. If you think that you got some good value from today, then I want you to share this Periscope, and the way that you do that is by swiping up or swiping to the right on the screen. That's going to give you the option to share to your other Periscope followers, or to share through your Facebook page or whatever other social media platform that you are using. Really help me get this message out. It's such an important one. I've talked about adrenals before, but of course many people miss that message, and so help me get it out there. When I reach 250 followers, we're going to do Free Coaching Friday, which is going to be a platform for you to be able to use to ask me questions in real time to help you get through the rest of the week. So that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. Have a great one.